Hi, my name is Jake. This is Tina, and I am going to be talking about the next episode of my vlog, talking about Pakistan. So, to recap, I was in India and I'd finished up in India, traveled around on a motorbike, saw different things, and yeah, I'd finished off with Finding Bibi, this documentary, and I headed my way on to Pakistan. Pakistan, there was an enormous earthquake in about 2006, and I wanted to go and help out there, and I'd contacted a few NGOs that I was able to go and assist. So I assist for an NGO called Muslim Aid Pakistan or Muslim Aid UK, all of those sort of arms of Muslim Aid and Islamic Relief. So they gave me a job to work in Islamabad, and I traveled around from Islamabad working with them. And that gave me a chance to actually travel to K2. So this sort of came around in this weirdest sort of a way where there was this massive flooding up in the north near the earthquake area. And I had my rock climbing gear. I was really into rock climbing, and I had some carabiners. The water had flooded across the pathway, and there was very little way of getting across. But there was this power pole that had fallen over, and so the wires of the power pole or telephone pole was going across, and there was a way to actually go from one across the water with some carabiners and attach it to your belt or catch it around your waist and go back and forth. So I would go back and forth and collect people that were stuck from the village and get them to the other side. And at one particular point, there was this girl crying, and she was crying, and I asked her why she was crying. And she said her cat was stuck over on the other side. So I went, oh, well, fuck it, I'll go get the cat. I went and go get the cat, and the cat was really not into getting into the water, I'll tell you that. So the cat scratched the shit out of me. I, yeah, for dear life, I held on as much as I could, and we got to the other side. The cat was traumatized. I was probably just all ripped up in my chest because I put it in my hoodie. And it was just, yeah, it was absolutely fucking ridiculous. My boss, however, knew that I liked climbing, and he had a cousin that wanted to go hiking to see K2. So they pretty much fitted my bill to be able to, I guess, be his guide to K2 to go and see it. And he he wasn't fully prepared for the trip. I'll tell you that. Just physically, at one particular time, he got really tired, and he was on the floor of the ice, crying. And I came up to him. I cheered him up. Decided to carry his bag, his cameras, take some photos of him in his trip, and it cheered him up. But going to K2 was just on one of those bucket lists. I wanted to go and see the highest mountain on the world, and one of the highest mountains in the world. It's the second highest mountain in the world, and yeah, so I managed to. Yeah, the trek took several weeks. Close to pretty much a month to get there and back, and I just always remember all of my porters. We had all these porters. We paid them like zip money, and they generally had little to nothing when it came to like cold weather gear. And up to K2, like it's the high mountains. It's like it's freezing, and they've got flip flops basically or sandals. They did eye off. I did wear a pair of orange Crocs, which were hideously ugly, but I love them. And I could probably say I'm probably the only person to ever be on K2 with a pair of orange Crocs. Yeah. So it was, yeah, it was an amazing hike. There was also another photographer, Amir. He was with us. He was taking all these nature sort of photos, and long exposures, and I just photographed the whole journey. I'll tell you one thing. I had a Canon 20D, and I remember all my batteries had pretty much died, and the only way I could sort of keep them going was like I just would get the battery and I would just rub it, and it would get enough charge, and I could take another 3 or 4 photos, and then it would die again, and then I'd just be charging the points with my thumb. And I managed to take photos for the rest of the trip. I was very ecstatic to climb and try ice climbing and have ice climbing gear. I literally climbed up this other peak in full ice gear. And yeah, it was an incredible feeling to go and throw an ice axe into a wall and it actually stick. And it was like, oh fuck, I can actually climb this. Same as crampons. I will not say that the journey was easy, but it was incredible. But yeah, it was hectic as well. There was deaths on the mountain in K2, and a whole Russian expedition was killed by an avalanche. It just ran all through them and just killed them instantly. There's no going back. I remember also like people that were sick, you'd have to be helicoptered out because there was no way to be able to sort of get out. I remember also seeing sometimes in the higher mountain peaks, you would see dead bodies, and they would be sitting in the ice. Just they'd come to the end. They'd died of freezing. Whether or not they were porters or climbers. If you didn't have, insurance, the Pakistani army were not coming to pick you up. But yeah, it was, and I'll always go back to it. Thinking, this was incredible, to hike, to push your limits, and go as far as you could go. Okay, so I came back from K2, and I was on top of the world, and I felt really great. And I remember being at this restaurant halfway to on the long trip back. We're on the sort of bus, and I end up having a glass of water, and it just ruined me. Like my guts just went out. And it's funny because I talk about these shit stories, like shit literally, but it's true. Like the worst thing that can really happen to you on a traveling trip is that your guts, finally give up, and you end up just crapping your pants. But yeah, it was so bad that I was actually shitting out of the bus window because the bus driver wouldn't stop for me to keep on letting me take a fucking crap. So I end up being back home, in Islamabad, and working and taking, grading the photos and doing trip stuff, and it was really bad. At one time I just had to sit. I was sitting at my desk, and I thought the best place to put my desk was actually in the toilet. So if I needed to go, I could just go. Lucky enough, my colleagues just managed to talk me out of it because that would have been actually really gross. And I remember going to see a pharmacist, and they didn't know what really was wrong with me, and they just prescribed me like a dozen different type of pills. And then finally, whatever happened, my stomach died, but it died horribly. Like it was like a rat, sort of, having rat poison, just like withering and dying, and I end up going to the toilet, reaching into my butt with my fingers, and I pulled out these long, gigantic tapeworms that were like the size of eating spaghetti, and just pulling them out of my butt. And I was crying, but also elated because I finally worked out what was wrong with me. It was just absolutely shit. One of the places that I also went to was the was to Dar Abdel Khel, and Dar Abdel Khel is the gun market that's on the Pakistani and Afghan border, and it's in the federally administered tribal areas. And there's this big gigantic sign that says that the government will no longer take your responsibilities if you continue past this point. But I really wanted to go because it's an interesting place, and I wanted to take photos. What I obviously didn't realize that the people that generally go there are gun smugglers and people making deals, because this is a place where they make AK-47s for like $100. Uh, they're not very good. I don't think they fire very well, but yeah, they can replicate and make any gun. They take it apart, look at it, and then just reassemble it and refabricate all the parts to make it look. Some guns look like the original. And I remember talking to one of the guys. He actually got some really old, I think 1911 sort of handgun, and managed to replicate it and make it look like the original. And so the person can obviously put the original into a safe and have the fake one on display. Anyway, I end up getting stopped by ISI and interrogated, and they pulled me aside and they asked me what I was doing there, and they took me back to Peshawar and interrogated me in like a little dark cell. It was dark, it was black, and they put Pakistani music on really, really loud. And that was hectic. Just, yeah, at least 1 hour of that was just brainy. And, I'm like telling them, look, I'm a photographer, I take photos, I'm very interested. Like, it's just a travel destination that seemed intriguing, And I remember I had this picture of a girl, this girl that I'd been talking to online. She was a friend of a friend, and she was intrigued by my adventures, and we're just like chatting away. And I had her photo in my wallet, and the Pakistani ISIA guy, he just like waves it around like, who is this girl? It's like, oh yeah, this girl that I met, online. She's really cool, And he's like, he looked at her and he said, look, I'll let you go if I can take this picture. And it didn't take me too long to just go, you know what? Take the picture. I'd like to go. And I left. I left as soon as I could, got back into a car and drove all the way back to Islamabad, never to go back to Dar Abdel Khel ever again, or Peshawar. I did end up going back to Peshawar though. But that was, crazy. The rest of Pakistan was interesting. I got to the earthquake area, and I did work for an orphanage again that was part of Global Peace Mission, a Malaysian NGO, and helped them out. Took some photos for them, and just checked out the whole earthquake area and how people were going with their lives. A lot of people were reinstated to move to Islamabad. That were displaced. They were probably the more, I guess, more privileged, I guess. They had sort of money, so they were able to stay in much better facilities in Islamabad. But up in Balakot, it was, it was a humanitarian need to, reestablish good cleaning water and everything. Part of my trip was during Ramadan, and one of the guys that we worked with, he offered me to go to his village. It's in a place called Manshara, which is, it is up towards Naga Parbat. It's very, very close to Naga Parbat and Fairy Meadows, and those places were incredible. To see. Naga Parbat is the tallest 8,000 meter mountain that starts from the lowest height. So it's a full climb. You can actually hike around it, and it's quite amazing. But yeah, it was just amazing. It was interesting to be in a place that had no electricity, no power, and just live commonly. One thing we did was hunting. I'd never hunted before. We don't really get that luxury in Australia. And we had an old shotgun, and you really had to sort of be sneaky and creep up. I killed a deer, and I remember it were the responsibility of killing a deer is like you have to kind of gut it, you have to clean it, and you have to carry it back to the village. And you know, that in itself it was heavy as fuck. But I did it. I wanted to climb some mountains nearby, and I I end up causing an avalanche and getting crushed, and my legs were really battered. I managed to pull myself out, and I had to crawl. And I was kind of lucky that the villagers found me and they brought me back. And I was laying in a cot, and I just remember these two kids, and they were always like coming up and like laughing at me, and they didn't speak English, and I didn't speak Urdu that well, and we just kept having pulling faces at each other, and just trying to share and teach things. I had some pens and papers and was teaching her drawing. And I remember the sign, and the literacy rate is like 0.01% of girls get to have an education. And that's just insane. You know, that out here in the villages that they weren't given these opportunities. And I guess this is one of my reasons why I wanted to keep on staying in this region, was to help try and bring children's education and literacy, if I could, or education, just let kids believe in dreams. So that was the real start of my journey. Now, my mother got really sick, and I remember I was running out of money, and I thought, well, no, I better go home and go and help out and just be there. So at the same time, I got this telephone call. It was from Wally DeBacker from the band Gautier. He did this song called Hearts a Mess, which was like the Triple J 100 #1 song. He was been doing really well, and I'd worked with him before as a VJ, and he asked me, would I be interested in VJing for him on stage? And I said, oh yeah, why not? Why not? What I didn't realize was I was going to be on stage in front of 5,000 people. Anyway, this is the end of this little chapter. And yeah, I'm going to talk about coming back home to Australia and then my first trip to go to Afghanistan.